There's a lot on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, words and it's juicy.
Yes, it is.
We have to be done by 8.
Can we start there, Mr. Shaw?
Are you ready, Sean?
Yeah, so let's go with call. Yeah.
So we can call order at 6:31. Gentlemen, can I get you guys to sign in, please?
Sure.
Thank you. You do have a quorum.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Disclosures have been filed. Are there any new disclosures to announce from any of the board members?
Maybe.
All right, thank you.
Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes.
Everybody okay with that?
I would like to move that the board approve the agenda as presented.
I will add one thing, but I'll just do that in our director right now.
Oh, okay.
It's not
Okay.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. What do you got for correspondence?
Correspondence, there is an email in your board packet. It's item number 4. It's an email received from Jay O'Donnell, and it's regarding the properties that were excluded from the district back in 2020. He and some other residents have an issue with the property owner that excluded that property from the district. And we spent about 40 minutes on the telephone the other day, and I guess the property owner has put up private property, no trespassing signs, and their contention is that there's a couple of public access easements on those private lots, and the property owner is trying to vacate the lot lines in there. And so what I told them is their best bet would be to go to the planning commission meeting when they hear that.
There you go.
And they can voice their opinion, and they can even go to the county commissioners meeting if it moves that far to voice their opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with us. None.
But I told him that I would present you his email to you guys.
Sir, that's my letter. May I say something on this topic?
Sure, sure.
Jay O'Donnell, 6360 Apache. We understand the exclusion from the Ferry Park Metro District for that property. It's in the rearview mirror. What we are concerned about, though, is there are 2 plotted 15-foot wide easements that are part of that property that has been sold to Winfield. Now, Winfield's intent is to vacate the entire end of Apache, and at the end of Apache there is a cul-de-sac, Apache Court, and so as you go up Apache, you would take a right, and that's Apache Court. It's undeveloped, unimproved roads. The pavement ends. The owner has been putting up no trespassing signs, private property signs on public property. We just got those removed today, I understand, because we go back and forth with the county on this. But what our concern is, and if you look at that email that I did send, at the end of Apache Court, there are 2 15-foot easements. One goes towards the Winfield property line, which they own most of that land just to the west. But the other one, which the neighborhood uses, and this part of Ferry Park uses, to access the Ferry Park Metro District's open space just behind there, adjacent to that property line that they purchased, there is a 15-foot easement, and that's what we use to access that open space. And in the pictures you can see that it's a very well-worn path. We all know how fast things grow here if it's not trampled on a regular basis. So people go up there, they walk dogs. I go up there and ride my mountain bike. My kids go up there, and that cul-de-sac is used for people with their dogs and everything else. But so the petition by Winfield to actually vacate that property, they want to put a gate at the end of Apache where the pavement ends and cut off all access to that back area. And they want the county to give them the road and Apache Court, that property, essentially for free. Just give it to them. Their intent is to block all access and put a gate up there, which would prohibit us from accessing that those easements that were that have been in the, that have been here since those lots were plotted back, I think, in the late 60s, early 70s. So what we are asking for is the Perry Park Metro District to support us in asking the county to oppose that vacation of those lots based on those reasons. And if there's anything I can answer about it, I've been going back and forth with the county on this. I'll say this, the Winfield property folks, they have lawyers, they have a lot of money, and they have had one of our neighbors almost arrested. Now they're cited and they have to go to court for trespassing in their own backyard. And so there's a lot of animosity going on back and forth with the fences they want to put up. Now, because it is not part of Perry Park Metro District, it's agricultural land, they can put up different types of fences that we really wouldn't want. And some of those fences that they want to put up would not be allowed in the Perry Park Metro District thing, and so there's back and forth going on that. But what I'm here asking you, and several of us that live on this side, the only access we have now is that easement at the end of Apache Court that they want to cordon off and restrict us. Now, they will say that there is another easement just down the street or just to the east of that that will get us access at the end of the cul-de-sac just to the east. But if you look at the pictures, that easement, unless you're a billy goat or a mountain climber, it is a very stiff and very sheer, steep, and it's actually sandstone, so it's just unpassable. So we're asking the county to oppose this vacation. We will be opposing it because it will block our restriction to the only access we have on this part of Perry Park, on this part of Apache, to get to that Metro District property, which we have been paying taxes on for a long series of time. So we do have a vested interest in its use, and there is basic common law that if this easement has been used on a regular basis and has a use still, that it would help us, and the more that we can get on board to sign our petition or to actually oppose the vacation of these lots would be very helpful to us. And we're here asking the Perry Park Metro District to support us in opposing that vacation.
What is the nature of that easement that?
It's, from my understanding, it's part of the deeds on those properties. It was, there were two easements. If you walk down Apache Court, there's one that goes to the left, which would again go directly west, which would go to that property line. But the one that goes up about a 45-degree angle to the right, which would, I think it's 100 and something yards, takes you to the Perry Park Metro District open space. But they're part of the deeds on the property. There's two properties, and they share that easement. It's a 15-foot wide easement, and so those two property deeds support or have that easement inclusive.
If I recall, those easement types, I've seen them on those properties, were the utility and quote-unquote trail easement, but the Metro District has no right to utilize those trail easements. We had an issue where we were going to, on similar properties around the district that were not built upon, to put in, we had a concept a few years ago of putting in some pre-made fire line that could be used as a trail, utilizing those. This community came unglued. We had a meeting with about 60 people that showed up with pitchforks and torches and said, no, you won't. And then there was a person that is in the legal profession that told us that those really are not anything to do with Perry Park Metro District. That trail component of that is something that the county would have to deal with. And so that whole concept of utilizing that easement that you're talking about for a public trail was kiboshed. So that's a little history there.
Okay. Yeah, I understand the jurisdiction of Perry Park and the county on this, and we're just asking the Metro District during the open comment period, where anyone can comment on this once they post it, is to oppose the vacation based on the reasons it would restrict access to a well-worn, well-used, only easement to get to the Perry Park Metro District open space.
Well, I think the board might be happy to do that if we could find out a legal standpoint on what that easement actually does, because if that easement is not for public common use, the board would not be able to really back that at that point in time, even though it's had maybe user use because of the former landowner that didn't really care and that kind of thing. Those are two very different things, and we would need a legal opinion on the validity of that easement to even start to make a comment on that.
So in the Douglas County Master Plan, it states that communities are established, and just like the new one, the Dawson Trails that's going in, that there's open space and then there's access to that open space by that community. And that would be our, say, county access to that open space is through via that easement that is designated by the county as part of the deeded property. I did submit that information to the county, I don't know, 2 years ago, when this whole project started, about from Winfield, and that's part of the Douglas County Master Plan. If you have open spaces and you can't access them, what good is the open space to the community?
Right, and I understand all that, and I certainly have empathy for your positions on this. But the reality of it is, unless we get a legal opinion on the validity of those easements for the use that you're talking about, the board is not in a position to back something that isn't even legal.
Is that the entire board's position, or are you speaking for the entire board? Have you guys already spoken about
Well,
it?
I'm speaking from me.
Okay,
but
so you're saying for the board.
I
so
am
you're
saying,
I'd like to hear from some other people as well.
and we'll be happy to make that happen. But we have to do what's legal. That's my comment.
I understand that.
Board?
Oh, I'm sorry. I have some background information on that easement and the easement to the open space
Yeah, go
regarding
ahead.
our wildfire mitigation efforts.
So make sure they hear you.
We need some form of easement with the ability, which we have used the trail easements to access that Metro District parcel in the back.
That has been accomplished.
So when they vacate, is there an easement being granted along the?
That is
east
correct. The
boundary?
terms of that easement, and the only way we could get this worked out with the current landowner, was that it was Metro District authorized people only for maintenance purposes, and it was like on at most an annual one time in, one time out kind of thing, because the part of that park that you're referencing, we cannot get machinery in to do mastication work for fire mitigation by coming up through the other part of the open space due to the way the rocks are. And so what we did get out of the current owner was an easement that is specifically for Metro District operations of going in to maintain that portion of the open space we can't get to from down below.
Will they be able to fence that off?
And it's in there that they need to have a gate for us to be able to access that. Yes, sir.
So I am the homeowner that's being affected mostly by this. We live at 6619 Apache Place. I'm also the defendant, I guess, in the trespass case that was brought against me for bringing on materials into that area to build a fence. This was as negotiated with their attorney. And I just want to bring it out to the board that they are proceeding with a fence independent of any type of information that we have provided by saying here are the Perry Park Metro District guidelines for building fences and materials. They've basically thrown that right back in our face saying we're going to build it, we don't need your permission, it's going here. They have shown me their maps. It goes directly across your your streets and your borders that they've got going all the way up along the rock line. And they have basically presented it as a position that they can post or do whatever they choose on that fence line. So it's basically disregarding anything that Perry Park Metro District has basically put out as saying, these are the guidelines and how we would want to build a fence. And my position here is, they are not willing to negotiate on anything.
The Metro District has no guidelines on fencing. It's not part of our purview and never has been, and we have no authorization on that. There are a couple things that relate to fencing. Number one is county zoning, and I believe all Perry Park is zoned suburban residential. And there are some fencing things in there. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. I think you can put fencing on the lot lines within the setback. I think there's some language like that in there. But yeah, we, the Metro District, don't have any authority on that. What's this?
That must be the Perry Park Metro.
That's a homeowners association, that's not the.
This is Perry Park
Oh, that's Perry
East
Park East.
Homeowners Association. That has nothing to do with us. I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
There's nothing in the service plan or anything.
Yeah,
Fencing.
our service plan has never included anything like that. There were architectural control committees at one time that did deal with those kind of issues. To the best of my knowledge, there's only one in all of Perry Park. There, each filing, the way I understood it, each filing had its own architectural control committee. Okay. There's only one left, and it's because all the rest of them missed a window that after it was like 25 or 30 years, they had to go back to the county or state and reestablish themselves, and none of them did that. So they're kaput. They're not in existence anymore. Now, that doesn't say that they couldn't come back. I don't know what the process is for that. It's not this board's responsibility on that, but that is something that could be done, whatever filing that you're in. Are those properties of hers in the same filing? I think they are in a different filing.
They were in the different filing. They were
Yeah.
in the wind.
She's like 7, and I don't know, what are you guys in?
It might be
2 or
9.
5, huh?
I think they, I think she would have been 7 or so with Wingfoot.
Yeah,
Back.
yeah. So she's got a separate filing to deal with versus your part of the neighborhood there.
And I think that filing is still active. I think, the Wingfoot one.
So as we understand it, there's no position of them placing any kind of fence or how that fence is constructed or how it would interfere with any traffic, whether it's foot or emergency or maintenance vehicles going up.
Would you,
The
Because
maintenance vehicle,
it does
the
not show-
agreement that we have
Sorry.
with her for the maintenance vehicle access is still valid. If she runs her fence and does not provide a gate or a way to open the fence, then that issue will be dealt with upon observation of that
They
issue.
actually had to buy a title insurance policy for
Yeah.
that maintenance easement.
They sent us their plans and it
Yeah.
shows no gate. It shows fence going directly through those
Yeah.
properties.
There's a gate that would be at, I think originally we talked about, pretty much where the roadway goes, and then the easement that the district secured for maintenance of that little arm of the open space goes up there, turns up the old,
So
Apache Court?
Apache Court,
I can
and then
forward-
follows basically down the lot line, which was the one way that a vehicle can actually get in there. Most of the other routings, just, you can't even do
So,
it.
it's my understanding though that there's gonna be a cul-de-sac, a turnaround. Back
Correct,
there.
there has to be a turnaround,
At the
yes.
end, at the end. So where would the gate be in that? What's the? what
I
is
don't
it?
know what the particulars on
Okay.
that, but yes, they are required to provide a turnaround. They are provided to have a gate access for the Metro District's maintenance purposes. And that was about the extent of it, if I
Does
recall
the
correctly.
fire district have access to that gate?
We have access to anywhere we wanna go.
No.
There you go.
I mean, if it's closed, like you would just, if you don't have a key for the gate, like I know like with Bermuda, you guys have a key for our access.
Right, and we would get a similar situation on that, from a fire perspective. Steve?
Yeah, I was gonna come on the gate part too. Steve Ostrowski, I'm around the corner from Apache, so walk that way. But, the easements and all that kind of stuff, obviously legal outside of jurisdiction, but maybe the gate, to Joe's request, maybe the board could support them in at least saying we prefer not to have a gate. Because we do have, the board does have some say over safety, fire, that kind of thing.
Well, the gate we would want.
Yeah.
We would need it for our access to get our machinery in and the.
You're saying have it open?
none at all.
You're saying have it open?
Right, just have it open.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe the board, maybe there'd be discussion worthy of at least providing that
Well,
statement.
I think,
And board, please speak up if you have a comment on this, but I think it's not that we wouldn't be happy to support your efforts, but we need a legal basis to do that. And we can't lend support to something that we don't have legal good standing on. And I'll shut up and let everybody else.
Well, an opening, Steve, I think would not be a happy thing for that particular owner over there. The whole idea that they're having is that they don't want anybody coming onto their property, and there were four-wheelers and motorcycles and people walking all over, and then, you know, they're going behind their house and all this kind of good stuff. And I think that would just encourage a lot more people to just walk through and do their thing with their four-wheelers and so forth. I think we're gonna have to have a discussion about gates.
It just seems like the residents are asking to support the residents and not the.
Yeah.
Right, they're supporting, it's not even in Perry Park
It's a public
anymore.
open comment, anyone can.
Yeah.
anyone can-
I'd like to respond. So you're taking the position that people have been riding motorcycles up on their property.
Well,
So-
that's been one of their complaints.
I understand. So, I've lived there for 3 years. I used to walk up there almost every day until the security guard is there every day.
Yeah.
You know, tells us to stay off of public property at this point. I've not seen a motorcycle ride on their property.
I mean-
I've not seen any of these things that you're referring to. So don't listen just to them, because they've had a history of lying to.
Okay, I'm not just saying motorcycles or things, but they were complaining about
I would
people
find
walking
it-
back there.
We have the right to walk on public
There's
property.
an
There's a
open
public
space
right of
that
way.
we
And there's
use.
open space.
But
And we did not
but
walk
they were
through.
saying that people were coming on their property.
Would you please
Yeah, no.
believe and listen to a half dozen people who live in the area that are speaking to the that you guys are elected from? At least as much as you listen to the people who are telling you this?
Right.
And it may have happened, I don't know if it may have happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years. It may have. I don't know. What I'm saying is if they want to fence off their property and they want to keep people off their property, they have property rights. They bought it, they deserve that. We're not arguing that. All we're saying is there's public areas, public access areas. We'd like to maintain them. We'd also like to have access to our open space that we pay taxes on. I think about a quarter of our taxes are paid so we can have access to the open space. And we can't get there as soon as this goes through. We'd like some support.
I'm
The
just
one
saying,
thing that Randy talked about, I'm sorry, Kevin. The one thing Randy talked about is we need to get a legal opinion as to what that easement is for.
right.
Was that easement for the public to go up, cross over it? Or was it for just maintenance vehicles? We don't know.
Okay.
Well, I think the
And I'm
description.
100% supporting you,
Right.
as long as it's legal and we have the
Yeah.
right to cross it.
So the description on the county documents that were submitted, along with all the paperwork for 2 years now that have been going on with this thing, are that easement, it does say utility and trail. Now, I understand there's no trails that are manicured, but there's a trail. I mean, I would go up there with my daughters. We've lived here almost 12 years.
Well, if
And-
I can,
No, but wait,
Oh.
so there's trails that we go up, I've seen you hiking on them, Randy, and we say hi, and they're not manicured trails. We
Right.
go up the back and we enjoy the open spaces and the beauty of this area.
well, that,
Wingate is basically stopping us from, they've already stopped it from what I heard from neighbors that have lived there since the 70s or, so. there used to be a public access, that road that goes up to the back, and it was beautiful, and people rode their horses, and it was all great. Wingate comes in and buys that property and shuts that access off, and you can't even get to that public road up there anymore. So this is an MO that's going on with this, and it just kind of feels, you know, that the little guy, me maybe, little gal, is losing this ability to enjoy the area that we purchased a house in. And when we purchased the house, we knew there were open lots up there. We knew there might be houses up there someday. That's okay. But what's going on now, and this is not a friendly neighbor now, and there's threats. There's a security guard that leaves his car running underneath someone's house. It's awful. It's ruining, hey, real estate values. This gal's view shed now has no trespassing signs all over.
Oh my God.
Just
Yeah.
a quick clarification, has the vacation of the county right-of-way and the lot lines occurred yet?
Not yet.
Not
That,
yet.
what we're really asking for here, we really want the board's support in not, in saying that we'd like not to have this vacated, because we do care. Now, I know there was a meeting in 2020, an October agenda item that said there's an exclusion petition update was what the agenda item was. I don't think any of us knew what the exclusion update was. The petition update wasn't clear enough for us to understand that this is what was gonna happen. I know in November we had no public comment because nobody attended. I get that. And I know in December 2020, the board made a decision to take those properties out of Prairie Park. I get all that. That's all kind of water over the bridge, but, under the bridge. But the issue we have right now is we just want some support. Because we talked with Eric, who's the project manager up at the county, and he goes, well, the Prairie Park Metro District said nobody came and nobody cared. You know, nobody came, nobody made a comment. There was no comments at all. And there were none, because we didn't know what the agenda item really meant. So anyway, I guess, but they have not made this decision, it's coming up.
I personally, I'm Keith Worley, I've been overseeing our fireways program for over 20 years here. I'm gonna go up there tomorrow, and I guess I'm curious to see if they will keep me, are they attempting to keep you off of the public?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they have.
Okay, I will be up there and I will be no, I will not be trespassing. I will be going on county property. In fact, I will expect a deputy to issue me a ticket standing in a county right-of-way. And therefore, now, if I go up the end of that cul-de-sac that is not vacated yet, and I step 1 foot off of that cul-de-sac,
You might be in
then
trouble.
I might get a ticket. Yes, I can understand
Unless
that.
you're within our easement, because you are at our charge to go in and look at that property for maintenance.
But
And it will be blocked.
Keith, to your point, I personally, it was the summer of 2020 when Randy, I took you up that area, and we walked up there with Matt and said, we're concerned about all this stuff going on, and we went through that issue. But I walked up there that summer, and after they had bought the property, walked up on Apache Drive, on the dirt part of Apache Drive. The security guard said, you can't go up there, this is private property. I go, yes, I can, I'm walking on the public right-of-way, and also the court up here is public too as well. And I said, you may not know this is a security guard, but it is, and if you want to find out what you're guarding, talk to you know, the people who are hiring you, or call the sheriff.
Yeah, I would be calling the sheriff. In fact, I will call, if he tries to stop me, I will call the sheriff to have him arrested for impeding
I can't
my
tell you.
ability.
I kept walking, and the sheriff came up and said, what are you doing here? And I told him the same thing, and he and the guy spent about 2 hours trying to figure out where the public property was, where it was and where it wasn't. And by the time I got finished, he came over to my house, and he goes, you're okay where you're at, but don't go off that area because they're gunning for you. It's exactly his words from the sheriff.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And I'm not
and
the
they
only
have
person
been,
who's gone through
in
this.
the past, Metro District Board President was issued a ticket because he used to walk that area, and they fenced it, and they ran fences through Filing 2's backyards. Barbed wire fences in Filing 2 as soon as they acquired that property there. So expect a barbed wire fence in your backyard.
Well, they can't do
And
barbed
have-
wire in the county anymore, they can do smooth wire, but that's what they want to do.
Well, the access, you know, trail that you mentioned, the well-worn thing, that was at the good graces of the former landowner that he let people cut up through there and didn't really bother him, Phil Hayward.
Phil Hayward was.
Yeah, that was his
Whatever.
deal.
We bought.
So basically you had informal,
I don't even know.
permission from Phil to use that because he just didn't care if people used it or not, you know, I mean, was the bottom line on it.
Well, we don't wanna hijack your whole meeting, but I guess I guess what I'm hearing is to kind of summarize. If we get a legal opinion that says that property is available for us to use as a trail access, that the board will support that, it will support us in opposing that them eliminating?
Yeah, what we need is clarification on what that easement actually is and what it means.
Okay, I'll take that action and I'll hire whoever
Because
to do that.
that's the point that we're kind of hinged
I'll bring it back to
on.
the board. Yeah,
We could not support something that would
understand. If it's
promote
illegal-
an illegal concept.
Absolutely.
Is that?
I understand and appreciate it. We just, you know, they're very aggressive. We're very upset that it feels like we're gonna lose land that we all enjoy and use right now.
Yeah.
And frankly, it doesn't feel right for us to pay roughly 25% of our property taxes to get access to open space that we can't get to. That seems
You don't
like-
pay 25% of your
Okay,
property.
whatever the numbers, my wife will tell you. the numbers.
About 4%.
Okay,
barely.
But we pay some.
Maybe 2%.
Okay.
Of
We pay
the
some
tax.
What do you do?
Thank you. But we should still have access to the open. One of the reasons why we bought our property back there. It's a beautiful area,
Yeah.
beautiful location, and we get access to open space right back there.
Yeah.
Without climbing over a 60-foot cliff, which is what we would have to do after
We
this.
could go through over that
I
cliff.
just want to point out,
Yeah,
to
it's
the
right
board,
next
they
to
already
the
have.
I know right
That's
where
the
it is.
access.
Yeah.
There is another access further down on Apache that goes back to that open space also.
It's not accessible.
You can't get
No,
to that.
you can't.
over the rock in our house.
No,
No,
there's
there's
one
another-
further down Apache.
There's
Further down.
another access
Yeah, I've looked at all.
further east of
Have
that.
you guys walked it? The other
Now,
one?
the one that's behind your house is impassable.
Right.
Yeah, but there's one, I'm talking about way down Apache.
It's about a block
It's
down.
still not
Yeah, it's a good
accessible.
block down that.
Down behind at the four-way stop sign, you
Yeah.
turn left and you go back up.
There's one up there, but you can't
Yeah.
get to all of that.
But
because
there's
the
another
rock.
one from
If
Apache.
you'd like, I can, I've been a student of the Lee Stubblefield,
Yeah.
documentation and documents for over 28 years. And so I can understand what you're going through. Plus, we tried our trail endeavor as a trail fire line thing and,
Well, and
again,
there's another
pitchforks
access
and
to that
torches
property
and
off
so,
of Torrey
any
Pines.
kind of trail anyway.
And there are, I believe, 2 access points off of Wingfoot also. So there is access. Is it real handy, like,
Yeah, it's about a 2
cutting
mile.
across Phil's property?
It's
No.
about a 2 mile round trip to get to that place and back.
Well,
So
and
by
it's
then
not
my truck's
accessible
Yeah,
to
it's-
the whole open space, because there's rock formations that don't allow you to access that top part that's by our house.
Which is the same reason why you
There's
want
other
it.
ones, but they're
Yeah.
not as convenient.
You
Yeah,
just
because
can't
you can actually
up.
go around the rock formation, and from that back side, I mean, I've walked it all, and we've had mitigation crews up in there, and we've done.
Okay, well, I think,
Anyway.
let's let the issue go. If you guys would do some research and bring back a legal opinion on what that existing easement that follows the lot line in, what that is, and who can use it. That would clarify the situation on whether we would be able to support the issue.
We
I can
appreciate
tell you right
the
now,
time.
The residents of Perry Park and Perry Park East. That's what Lee Stubblefield put basically in virtually all the
And
filings.
that's all we
Trail
really want.
easement is for the benefit of Perry Park residents and Perry Park East residents. So,
Yeah, thank you.
I could only suggest, and this would be up to the board, because they already have their tractor and fencing post already in place to basically start putting this down. You may want to voice to their attorneys not to proceed with this until we get clarification.
Well,
Right away.
I would say this, let them take their action, and if it's an illegal action, then it's a pretty simple
Comes out.
case of
Yeah, fence comes out.
get rid
right
of
out.
fence.
Well, I mean,
You know.
that's what just happened with the signs, because they had a post in the middle of the road, so that you couldn't drive up there, let's say, even though
Yeah.
no one really drives up there.
Well,
And then they had all these signs, like
County
5,
should
6,
be
no
able to come out and take
trespassing
care of that.
signs.
Yeah.
And we took a picture, sent it to Eric, the planner, and then
Took it down.
last night,
Yeah.
they took them down, in the dark, took a picture, sent, there's never been any signs.
We've been trying to get rid of those signs for months, and all the county is, returned to us is
Well, if you
saying,
got a sign in the middle of the road, get the sheriff down there, because
we had the sheriff.
We call
the
it-
that
sheriff doesn't know.
compromises fire department access and a whole lot of other issues.
Yeah.
But the point is that we've tried for the last 6 to 8 months to have the county do something about the obstructions, about the security guard parking their car right in the center, intimidating people, intimidating my children from going up there.
Again, that's a
Yeah.
cop thing. You need to get, you need
Well,
to
the
get
cops
sheriff
come out
out
and
there.
they're going, we don't understand. They're saying they own this property, they don't. So, it comes down to the county. All the county has been doing for the last 6 months is replying to saying, we've talked to Winfield, they say there are no signs there, and it's on their property. I finally got fed up yesterday, and John and I sent pictures of these signs on the road, and sent them back, said, no, they're not. And now they took them down last night, saying, oh, we haven't had signs there for months. So it's a very, and as you folks know, when you walk back there, there's cameras everywhere too. So we're expecting to see cameras, backyard is gonna be right there. It's just not a friendly neighbor thing. To your point about the access roads back along the dirt roads, I don't know what they're called at the end of Red Rocks there. But as those get developed, who knows what's gonna happen with those accesses, with those lot lines as that property gets developed. So, again, I appreciate your patience, I appreciate your time reading what I sent you yesterday. All we're asking is there is a public comment, and I understand what you're referencing, and John and I will look into that. We're just asking for support from the Perry Park Metro District, if nothing else, to say, listen, people have been using this path on a regular basis for X amount of decades, and it's a valuable access to get to the open space and such and so forth.
Right.
But it is, the key though, is, as we've said already, is what are the rights on that property? We have to get a legal opinion on that, because Perry Parks is not, Metro District is not a law enforcement agency. We have no rights. We can't arrest anybody, we can't ticket anybody.
Yeah, we're just asking for public comment.
Yeah, but and I'm 100% behind supporting you.
We'll get that.
Been looking, I can't find it.
So there's, I mean, as far as, I'm trying to figure out what the word is, but there's something that you guys can pursue, like, once you use something repeatedly over a number of years,
Correct.
it now becomes.
Well, I think what we're gonna ask for is
I'm
an
just
opinion,
saying
legal opinion
That's a
saying,
good question.
does that easement allow us, people at Perry Park, to walk through that easement to get back to the open space?
Right.
That's what we're gonna ask.
But I'm just saying, as far
You're right,
as
there
when
is
you
case law.
use a particular piece
Yeah.
of property with the permission of the owner for so much a period of time.
But all that
But I
is,
mean, that's a legal thing, but I'm like,
That's a good point.
I don't
that's
know
all
if you've
civil
checked that.
action.
Yeah,
We have to
if you follow that, it's adverse possession.
That's it.
There you go.
That's the
And-
word.
And use that, if you can, if your lawyers and so forth, or whoever, think that that's a good point.
That is.
Going back to you and, talking about, I wasn't backing the residents. I am backing the residents. I'm taking the position and telling you that if you have an open gate rather than a gate, they're gonna come back and say no because of, what I was saying there as to that. But if they come back, if you go in there and say you're just gonna have an open gate, I see them being very upset about that because they're gonna use everything that they can to come back and say, oh, this is what happens when you have an open gate, and we have to have a guard and all this kind of stuff.
And I understand that, and I understand they might be upset, but it's public property right now on those two streets. We wanna maintain them, we would like to have the easement. That's up for debate, we gotta get a legal opinion. I don't care whether they're upset or not. We're upset on the other side. I could care less whether they're upset.
Right. I'm just saying
If they
that
bought
they're
the
gonna
property
take-
and and they wanna fence off their property, their lots, and keep anybody other, have at it. Fence every one of them up.
May I ask the board their position on just the vacation? Let's put the easement aside.
The two streets, yeah.
What would, the board certainly has a say in that. What would the board's opinion be to this vacation request? Is the board for them vacationing this county property, these unimproved roads, which includes, like I said, Apache to the end of their property line and to that small cul-de-sac off the right? That's a separate issue from what we're talking about with the letter of opinion. What would the board's position be on that?
Okay, I think we almost have to answer that personally. Personally, I would not be for the vacation. That's personal, okay? I can't say for the whole board what we would be, because I am feeling that we have to look at all the legalities and so forth before we can really, as a board, take a position. But individually, I agree 100%, okay? So,
This is a public comment. Anyone,
Right.
someone from Europe could write in and
Right.
as a letter. So I guess what I'm asking is that legal issue aside for the easement, could we get an opinion of the board of would they oppose or would they support the vacationing of those county unimproved roads to be given away to this, to Wingfield?
And we don't need that opinion from you guys like right this minute. I mean, maybe you guys need to speak amongst yourselves about it, but I guess the question is,
Are they,
would you? Yeah.
and so they're typically, right now, they're like utility easements or something?
No, these are public
These are
roads.
actually
These
roads.
are
Public
roads.
roads.
They're
Okay.
So there's roads, there's a cul-de-sac, I mean.
It was supposed to be part of our neighborhood.
It's,
in front of
exactly,
the
so
house.
remember, because they bought all the lots. and
Yeah, the
then they
people in
said,
the back,
okay, they
yeah.
would like,
Mhm.
yeah, for us to remove that from the Metro District because
Yes.
they wanted to
Yeah.
own that.
Have their own.
They don't want to just have the lots, they want to have all that
All the
land.
lots.
I would
they
just
bought.
ask that none of the board members voice an opinion, because this may be a business item down the road,
Yeah.
and you may conflict yourself if you make a comment on,
Okay.
during a meeting.
There's basically two vacations going on there. One is the property lines and the other is the roadways.
Absolutely. Yes.
And the roadway is, both of those are in the county's turf, as
Yeah.
far as decisions on that. If the county were to reach out to the Metro District for an opinion, then that would be the time that we would give that opinion. If it came out on a referral review. Sometimes the lot line vacations do come out to us. Usually if we have an affected property involved with it. But I've seen some vacations that I know have happened that did not come to us from the county through the referral review process also. And same with the fire department. They will generally be included on that just to see, do you have any issues like access for fire trucks, whatever the case may be. And as far as the roadways are concerned, I wouldn't be real quick to jump that they're going to be given that land. I'm sure the county has a process on a vacation like that, and I'm sure the county would want to put a value assessment on that land that they would get out of a vacation. I don't know that 100%, but I don't think it would be a gimme, is my guess.
My conversation with county when they initially filed the petition is that they will likely get the vacation unless there are opposing views with good reason, and or that it blocks or denies access to public property. And that's via the easement discussion we just had. But going back is, my understanding is they're not gonna pay anything for these roads. And when you listen to Wingfield, they're doing the county a favor by taking these off their hands, and providing the maintenance. And this county person said, you know, then the county will be saving money because we don't have to do anything. Well, you don't do anything to it now. It's a rutted out road, people walk their dogs, they throw, and, so there's really no loss. We
But
are
again,
losing
those
county.
would be actions to take at the time that
I don't
is in
think they're
front of the
gonna ask
county.
you. I don't think that they're gonna reach out to the district and ask you your opinion on this. This thing is moving like a steamroller. They are getting away with things that I don't understand how they're getting away.
Well, I'll tell you what, we need to move on. We have a lot of business tonight. Really do appreciate your input and concern on this and bringing these points up. If you could get back to us on that easement,
Absolutely.
what is the legal status of that easement?
Please.
What can actually happen as that easement sits today? Because that's a key thing before
That's-
this board
Yeah.
comes up with an
Because I
opinion
don't think
on
that,
that.
yeah.
I understand and reference that, and then on the flip side, if you could discuss among yourselves just the vacation of the property, the county property. What we're asking for is just for us, the taxpayers of Perry Park, to have the board support us to say, there's no good reason to vacate that property. If we vacate it, our residents will lose use of that property. So it behooves us to support that we oppose that as a board.
Like I said, the legal clarification, whether the residents actually have the right to use that or not, is the key hinge point here.
Well, if it's
Even
not
just the
vacated, it
road,
is.
even just the roads,
Just the
like,
road.
we
The road
walk,
trees.
my daughters walk the dogs, like when they have.
No, the roadways,
That's
absolutely.
what I'm saying,
But
it's
the
like,
road-
it's a safe place
No.
for my daughters to walk. and
Absolutely, on the
dogs
roadways, you have every
walk
right
the
in the world
dogs
to be
and
on
pick up the
those.
poo and the whole
So we
thing.
would ask the court, the board, just to discuss it amongst themselves. All we're asking for is those two things. We'll get back to you on the easement. Aside from the easement issue, just the roads. We believe that it behooves and it's in the benefit of the Perry Park residents that this not be vacated. We will lose land, we will use of that land. It's a very safe area at the end of these streets, the cul-de-sac, there's no through traffic. People can walk their dogs, people can, kids can ride their bikes and so forth. So we believe it behooves the district to support us in just at least to oppose the vacation of those unimproved roads, which includes Apache and Apache Court.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
appreciate that.
Thank you for giving us.
Good points by everybody. Okay, any other public comment? I guess we're still in the correspondence thing. Steve?
Yeah, a few things, I guess. I guess, without continuing the conversation, just leaving one public comment is, since that is a public comment phase of something, perhaps I'd be happy to share that like on social media and all kind of stuff, to try to get neighbors' public comment to support y'all. I think we all would.
Great.
Second, I just want to make sure, I know the last board meeting, I was, I think, half listening at the part where you guys gave a raise to Mr. Schlegel from $150 to $160 an hour. Good gig, Kurt.
Try it sometime.
Yeah, let's do it. But anyway, I wanted to make sure that I understood, because you mentioned there's a 40-minute, you had like a 40-minute call about this topic.
Yes, sir.
So that would be billed back to the board like $110
Yes, sir.
to have that conversation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. And then finally, the residents I've like just run across day to day, when I say, hey, did you know I have an election coming up? They've all said no. So I wanted to suggest that the board perhaps use your sign up front to maybe put a notice on that. It's only a couple weeks away. Or do some more outreach, because I'm literally like 0 for 10 people knowing that there's an election.
So what are you asking for, a sign
I
that?
think that sign right in front of the car.
Oh, the hanging sign?
Yeah.
Perhaps there, or if you guys have other ideas. I'm just
Election,
Yep,
election May 3rd at, kind of deal. Yeah, I think that's real
That's not a
appropriate.
bad idea. That's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Maybe print the page from your or from the perrypark.org that says it on instructions or something like that.
Well, and there's been a notice sent out through the MailChimp twice about the
Yeah.
election. We'll send out a couple more prior to that. There's a small sign in the window here because we have to designate this as the polling place. And there's been an ad run, the election notice has been run in the Douglas County News Press. So we're trying to get the word out as much as we can.
Yeah, I don't think those are being
Keep
effective,
doing whatever
because
we can.
it's my concern. 0 for 10 people know about it. So I don't think anybody reads the Douglas County, what is it? Like, what do you call
Douglas
it?
County News Press, it's the board's paper record.
Yeah, I understand that legally, but I mean.
The Sentinel had
effectively-
some articles, and I think
It
some
did, yeah, it was good.
candidate interviews and
Yeah, that was good.
stuff, so that was good to see that. But you're right, anything we can do to foster attendance
I
at
think that's a
elections
nice idea to put the sign
is
up.
a great idea.
To tell them like where to go, like it's this day.
Given it's only a couple weeks away, is that something you guys want to make a motion to act on during this meeting?
Yeah, are we even need a motion?
You run out of time.
Well, it's gonna be an expenditure because you don't have a sign, so we have to have one made. So if that's what you wanna do.
Somebody want to put a motion in front of the board?
I'll do that. I'll move that we put a sign at the front. Okay, good.
Do you have a second?
Do you wanna put a price tag on it, or what would, not to exceed number?
Probably a couple $100.
I would.
Huh?
Oh, sure. It's your motion.
Not to exceed $100.
No, that'd be more now.
Oh, come on.
It will be.
Well, that's
Once
right.
they sign
Just
Just saying,
Again, it's a not to exceed figure.
not to exceed 110, okay?
We don't need to spend it. Can't go.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so who's
Motion
gonna
carries,
do
thank
that?
you.
Thank you.
Huh?
So who's gonna do that? Well, that's up to you, if you can either, somebody on the board wants to do it, or if you wanna direct me to do it, I can do it, it's up to you. But it'll be billable time.
We'll get it worked out, one way or the other. We don't have to make that decision right here
Probably
at this
shouldn't do it
moment.
since I'm running.
Now, on to public comment. Do we have any further public comment?
I would like to ask a question if I could instead of a comment. I'm a recent homeowner to the neighborhood.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Don't hate me, but I was just questioning about, we have a large dog and would like to fence our backyard and was wondering, so one of the neighbors told us that we have to be 10 feet in from the property line. And I just want to check on that as well as the type of fence that we're allowed to put in for our dog and our grandchildren.
That would come under, at this point in time, unless you happen to be in the one active architectural control committee group, which is Wakanda and Country Club,
There's two.
you would need to look at the suburban residential zoning regulations and what they say about fencing.
For the county.
You go to
Cause
Douglas
they'll,
County Planning, they'll help you with that.
right, cause
They'll
there'll be
tell you exactly
setbacks.
what-
There'll be setbacks that it's their regulations.
No, actually, no, you can
Actually,
put a
they're
fence
not.
on your property line.
You can go right
Can
to
go
your.
right on the line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
You don't
can
have
do a fence
setback?
on your property line. That's, you're right.
We were-
The 10-foot setback idea is there's a 10-foot utility easement there. A lot of people set their fence just in the off chance the utility provider
through
might
there.
come through and trench or dig that area
Yeah.
out.
There's a
And so they
10-foot
set it
setback
10
for
feet in.
buildings.
And, no, you have a right to put a fence on your property
The
line.
suburban residential does allow you to put a fence within the setback area. The setback being defined as the setback of your house, so you can put a fence anywhere in there off the property line.
Yeah, but I think there's
That's my
like, is it Inca Ridge has an HOA, a little one.
Does that clarify things for you, sir, or did we just muddy the water?
No, that's great. I'll check with the county. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
They
You
have
bet.
they have a very nice website that explains it all for you. I did it myself when I did mine.
Great. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Do we have any further public comment? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on to unfinished business number 6, May 2022 election update.
So we're well in the process, moving towards the election. Ballots have been printed. We're sharing this room with the Water and Sanitation District for the polling place.
It's a good thing.
We're searching and looking for election judges. We've had several people volunteer, but not many call back or answer the phone. Mr. Karinke has volunteered. Oh, good. And so he's on board right now. He's going to go through his training, and I still need at least one more election judge.
I do it for the county, so I'm very familiar with the process.
Okay.
And I've responded to 2 different people and they never got back to me.
And what's your name?
Deborah Delco de Julio.
That's why.
Did you send an email to me? To
Possibly.
Kurt at Special District Solutions?
I'm sorry?
To Kurt at specialdistrictsolutions.com?
I could have.
Because I never have that. I've gotten probably 5 emails from others, but if you're interested, that'd be great. Before you leave tonight, if I can get your name and phone number, I'll get you the appropriate forms and I'll send you the link for the online training.
Okay.
And what we're looking for is, polling place will open here at 7 a.m. on May 3rd. It'll stay open until 7 p.m. on May 3rd. And then the judges will be responsible for counting those ballots that are voted during the day. And so we'll have an unofficial election result at the end of that day.
Very good.
One of the board's responsibilities is to appoint a canvass board. The canvass board's function is to meet within 3 days after the election ends to verify those election results and certify the election results. Once that's done, then we report those back to the county clerk and the election is complete. For the canvass board, it should be 1 board member and 2 members of the public. And so you don't have to appoint them tonight, but we need to get that done sometime soon, before the end of April.
All right.
So that we
Well,
can have that in place.
Would any board members volunteer to be on the canvas board?
I'll do it. Okay?
Can I ask a quick clarification?
Yes.
On the absentee ballots
Mhm.
that get mailed back, are those brought unopened in front of the judges? Or do you open those
No,
since you're the
I do
election?
not open. I'm the DEO, so I cannot open them. I can't act in any form or function at the polling place. So as those absentee ballots are returned, and we've already received, I think, 2 so far, they go into a locked ballot box at my office. And that ballot box will be brought here on that day of the election, and then the election judges will open that, as well as count the rest of the ballots that are voted.
Thank you.
Is it too late to request an absentee ballot?
No, you have until the end of business on April 26th
Okay.
to do that.
And who do we request that from, the county? or-
From me.
You. Okay.
Yep, if you look on the website, it's got my address. As a matter of fact, all you have to do is go on the website, the application is there.
Okay.
Just download the application, complete it, and email it to me. I'll turn it around the same day and get the ballot mailed back out to you.
Okay.
All you have to do is take a picture with your phone and send it to them.
Okay.
That's all you really have, it's a JPEG is good enough, right?
Yeah, it makes it harder, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
We can do it.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Oh, the modern world. Anything
Oh,
else, sir?
technology.
No, other than you just need to solicit 2 residents to be on the canvas board, and we can, Sean, if you and I can work on that if you want.
May I bring up one thing that I've heard, is that there may be a candidate that is in a write-in position.
Anybody can write in on a ballot, but that's not an official write-in candidate. It won't, those ballots, or those votes won't be counted. What happens is when the self-nomination forms are due on a certain date.
Oh, that's true.
And don't hold me to that, that was a couple weeks ago. There's a 3-day period after the self-nomination forms are due that anybody who missed that period can send in an affidavit requesting to be a write-in candidate. We received none of those.
Okay.
So anybody can write in anybody's name on a ballot, but if it's just somebody scrawling a name,
They're not
we're
valid.
gonna vote for any that's not valid.
Does the whole ballot get
No,
eliminated, or just that portion?
just, that wouldn't be voted on. So there's 3 positions open, so if somebody votes for 2 of the candidates that are on the ballot and writes in another name, those 2 votes for the,
They
they count, but
Okay.
the other one, the write-in would not be counted.
So no make
Thank
them
you.
out.
So, sorry, one more quick thing.
Sure.
Must the absentee ballots be mailed in, or can somebody bring those on the day?
You can drop them here on the day. There's no drop-off point, but you can drop them here on that day.
Thanks.
They just gotta,
We have a
they have to
box
be
that
signed
they
by
put
the
in.
candidate.
Or they just go in
I'll
the
make sure we made that point.
Well, there'll be a ballot box here, they can
Right.
drop them in, yeah, and I will bring all the absentee ballots in, and
Mhm.
so they can drop them in that same box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Committee office, offer to be on the canvas board.
Thank you, Pete.
We get to hang out. We never get to hang out.
Oh, the canvas board.
If you're a judge, you can't,
Both?
yeah, you can't do both. Because you'll be counting ballots and then you'll be certifying your own numbers.
It's like, ooh.
All right, anything else on the election, sir?
No, sir.
All right, number 7, review and consideration of a water lease agreement with Perry Park Water and Sanitation District for replacement water. And this is with regards to the pond in front of the park, what we commonly call the Gateway Pond.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you remember, we did discuss this 2 months ago.
Is this the same one that we tabled?
Yeah,
Yes.
but if they
And
filled
so
in parts of it.
what I'm asking is for the board to take it off or put it back on the table. We're required to provide the state with a draft replacement plan. In order to do that, we have to have a source of replacement water. So I've reached out to Douglas County, they're not able to help us. Evan, your attorney, is looking for other sources for replacement water. But we have to do something, we have to show some action to the state, because if the state doesn't see any action, they haven't been punitive to this point, but they can be. So it's my recommendation, the attorney's recommendation, that we execute the lease agreement just for 2022, so that we can get a signed copy and include that as part of our application to the state. And in that interim, because it's gonna take a while to get through water court, we can continue to look for other sources, or we can try to negotiate a better deal with the water and sanitation.
All right, so look, then, if we have to do this, then I need one more minute where we have our legal team look at this and tell us what are we liable for as this is written, because the way this is written, then we sign it, we're liable potentially.
Well, and Mr. Ayla has gone through it. And he gave you his opinion when he was here 2 months ago?
Yeah, and I think he said, yeah, it's John.
He said he didn't agree with it. He said it should be much shorter. It should be a 2-page agreement. There's no reason to be this complex. But the Water and Sanitation District is unwilling to do anything else.
I understand, I remember. My concern is there's language in here that tells us that actually we will incur liabilities if there are issues with the water and with the land, with the area. If we somehow incur any costs on their part, whatever those might be, we end up having to pay it. And it's not clear what that means in here at all. This is an open-ended arrangement the way it's written. I'm concerned. I'm still concerned.
I have the same
this is a good, basically we signed this, we're signing this in good faith that they don't somehow decide to bill us because they can't.
Well, they can't bill you for anything other than what you authorize and what you request. And so if the state requires any replacement water,
I got the water piece, but I'm talking about infrastructure, talking about other components here. When you read it, that's what they're talking about. There's more here. That something happens, there's not even any language in here that says whether or not we're responsible for it or not. It just says something happens.
And again, it's the board's decision as to which way you want to go. All I'm saying is that we received the order from the state almost 2 years ago, and the state hasn't taken any punitive action to this point.
I think it's what, $500 a day that they can lay on you?
It can be excessive, yes. So I mean, it's your decision as to which way you want to go. I agree. I'm not crazy about it either, and I wish we could negotiate it. But the Water and Sand District,
we tried.
Said no.
I think as far as we were there, like Craig Chris had a meeting, and so the Water District was there, and it gave me a better understanding. And they, you know, the one thing about Perry Park Water and Sand is just not Perry Park, right? They cover a bigger, broader area of Larkspur. But they, honestly, they were like, what they told me directly was, we want to work with you. We, you know, personally, we like the park, we like the lake in the front of the park, we'd like it to stay. But that's not their only main concern for Perry Park Water and Sand. But, so they would like, to me, they were like extending the olive branch to let's go forward. That's what they said to me directly. I understand.
All right, we can, hey, if you want to put it to a vote, put it to a vote.
I'm just saying that's what.
Okay. And Sean, I understand, I think the clause you're talking about is the indemnification clause. Clause 13.
I read this last time, and I had to go back and read it again to figure out where I found it. I just remember there is actually explicit language in here is to liability.
Indemnification.
And the way it comes down, unless I'm reading it incorrectly, there's very little in here that tells whether or not, like, what are the conditions of which they would be able to hold us liable for damage or infrastructure or whatnot, based off of nothing.
Sure.
That just cuts.
Just cause.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I'd like a better agreement, is what I would like, so, but, again, I mean, if you feel strongly about it as a board, put it to a vote.
Yeah, you know, I understand your concerns on that, and I'll just read it out loud real quick. Indemnification. To the extent permitted by law, the lessee hereby indemnifies and holds the leaseor harmless from and against any and all demands, claims, actions, arbitrations, and lawsuits or other circumstances arising out of or connected in any way to exercise the leaseor's water rights by the lessee, including its employees, contractors, agents, or related parties of interest. The indemnification includes, but is not limited to, any and all judgments, fine, liability, settlement, loss, damage, payment, injury, costs, and expenses of any nature whatsoever, including attorney's fees, thereby incurred by the leaseor arising out of or connected in any way to use of the leaseor's water rights by the lessee pursuant to this lease. I think that's an extremely broad brush, but honestly, I don't see, this is like a cut and paste out of probably a lot of
I get it.
Yeah.
All it takes is a vindictive board member on the Water and Sand District, and we're liable potentially, we're potentially going to court over something that they build.
Well, it does say indemnification to the extent permitted by law. Okay, so there has to be some very valid legal claim that could be, that somebody would try to put onto the water district for some reason, and then that's where we would get involved at that, the way I read it.
I'm just gonna, just to save us time, you're not gonna talk me off this one.
Well, no, I understand your concerns,
So
I really do.
I think if it's something that we feel strongly as a board we need to do, then we go for it and we go.
I'm also concerned about where we sit with the State Water Board.
A bit more concerned.
Because we've gotten multiple extensions on this thing
Yeah, but
and do not show
have we heard
progress
any correspondence from them at all?
of moving forward. They don't do that.
We'll just come and get you.
They give you deadlines, and
Right.
unless you can make your case why you're not making the deadline, which we have to date.
Right.
But we're running out of excuses, as it were. And at $500 a day, I think that's what
pretty-
our legal guy said that they could do. That could get expensive really quickly.
Well, on the
You know, that's my concern.
The other thing is, Kurt, wouldn't our liability policy take care of some of any expenses that would come up, you know, for this clause, let's say?
It should, unless a court found the district to be out of their area of responsibility.
Yeah, if we were acting illegitimately. Hence why we had the conversation about the other, yeah, so, all right.
The one thing is, it's a 1-year lease. There's a saving grace. I know, that
Well,
doesn't really help you.
they will all be 1-year leases. They're
Forever.
not willing to go into an extended
Yeah.
contract.
Right.
But we can't do that either, so it is a year-to-year lease on the water.
Everything, any agreement like this has to have a non-appropriations clause. So it's just year to year. And until you appropriate money at the annual budget meeting, no agreement is in place.
And we put money in the budget.
Do you want me to
by this.
say what?
Well, there's money in the budget for the legal fees and the water engineer.
Can we do this
And the
officially?
purchase of the water, right?
I'd have to, I don't wanna answer that until I take.
I think it's
look at
a
it.
small amount.
Yeah, it's not very much if we did.
Can we get a motion on the table and then we can have further discussion?
Yes.
Might as well do this.
I move that the board approve the replacement water lease agreement with Perry Park Water and Sand for the calendar year of 2022.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Now, is there any further discussion on this? And is there anything that, is your angst still at a high level on the Sean?
I don't like exposing them, I mean, like, I get it that they're being lazy and they don't wanna try harder, but that's not really a good reason to go sign a bad piece of paper, so, and that potentially exposes the Metro District. So I'm still no on this.
Yeah, I understand your concerns. Personal level, I don't think we're sitting in
We're
a
not
bad
thinking it's
situation
bad.
on that. And, you know, with the potential, if anything weird happened, like I said, a lot of that's gonna be covered by insurance if there were a claim against us. I think to me, this looks like cut and paste language out of 10,000 other water agreements in the state of Colorado. But yeah, I get where you're coming from.
And it's super CYA on their part.
It's what?
Super CYA.
Yeah. Of course it is.
Further conversation.
I just think that there comes a time when the state's gonna come looking for us, and then there's the
Yeah.
500, there's the cost of that, and now we have cost of litigation to try to protect that, and we
Right.
really didn't do anything to.
Well, and there's always the potential that the water district may just get tired of this hanging
say-
out here and withdraw it.
Yeah.
And then a pickle we would be in.
Then we'll see what we would be. Okay.
Any further discussion on the topic? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So noted.
That's appropriate. Absolutely appropriate. Okay, motion carries, not unanimous.
Moving on.
Okay.
Thank you for going to talk to them though. Thank you for going to talk
See,
to
where
them.
are we?
For going to
Number 8.
Review and consideration of a proposal received from Rob McDonald for hay cutting on the district properties.
Mr. McDonald has been in New England for multiple months. He said he sent this letter to the P.O. box, but I told him we'd never seen it, so I asked him to email me a copy.
Okay.
What you have in your board packet is his proposal to the board to maintain or to keep cutting hay.
I've done a couple pickups down there, I didn't
Yeah,
see
I
anything
just
from
told him.
McDonald.
It's just, he says this is why he signed this letter, that's why it's not signed.
Got it.
But this is his proposal to you. Again, he's willing to, for his family or his operation, to cut the hay, and by letting them keep the hay, that would be the cost. The only thing that's open in here is weed control. And he said that he's been spraying the Big D area, but he's never sprayed the other area up front. And so he said any spraying up front would be the responsibility for cost of the district.
Yeah.
Did he say any idea how much that is?
Well, that's a little more sensitive area too because of proximity to the waterway and to the pond. So I don't know if I would want somebody just willy-nilly.
But he's also talking about the Big D.
Correct. That's different. It's not as sensitive and
Right, but
the
he's
type
saying
of
he
things
would
he's gonna
spray.
use on that's gonna be okay for his horses and whatnot.
What he does say in here is that they follow what the county and co-op recommends
Right.
for weed spray.
Right.
One thing that we need to get in there is because every year the big green truck or tractor ends up on the Big D, all of a sudden I get a whole bunch of phone calls, why the hell wasn't there a sign out that it was gonna happen, and what are they spraying on it, and we're scared of the big green tractor and the sprayer and everything, so, I think we need to put in there that he needs to notify the board when he's gonna be active on the Big D or out front,
Agreed.
and tell him what he's doing and all that kind of good stuff.
As part of our discussion, I told him that this letter would just be a proposal, but the district would have to actually execute a professional services agreement.
Right, that's what I was saying, we have to put this on paper.
Right, and I've already contacted the attorney, and they have a formatted PSA that we can use.
Okay.
But we haven't taken any action on it, because I wanted to wait to see what the board
Kurt,
wanted.
I don't read this the same as, it says here, all spraying
So you just take it off?
would be paid for by the Metro District. It doesn't just say the front. It says all spraying, which means the Big D also.
Right.
And they've been paying for the Big D up until then, so.
Well, but they get the free hay.
But that's.
Yeah, they get the
So it just needs to be
And that's part of the
specific.
discussion that I already had with them, is they will maintain the same services that they've been doing.
Okay, so we need to make sure that's.
And
So
that
we
would
should
be,
change the language
that would be, well, again, this is just their proposal.
Right.
Because I told them that we would have to do a PSA.
Right.
And they'd have to review it and agree.
Well, the
Okay, so
original,
when you-
oral agreement way back when was that they would spray all the frontage, of the roads and so forth, and they would do the Big D. And also they were supposed to pay $300 a year at least toward, the 4th of July celebration. And I'm not seeing any of that in here. And they haven't been in charge of spraying frontages on the roads because that's county. It has been for a long time, and they have never paid the $300 from what I can tell. So, those are things that I think we need to consider here before we sign this agreement.
But he's also saying in here his costs have gone way up with the price of fuel.
Well, yeah, but so,
and
he
labor and
was
everything.
selling those bales of hay at $12 a bale, and he had, from what I understand, he had almost 10,000 bales of hay on the two properties. Yeah.
Big green tractor.
See, that's kind of where I'm at is, do we put this out for bid?
That's,
Well, I would suggest this. I think you got excellent points there, Craig. What if the district in our proposal back to them included the things you wanted and get his reaction?
Right.
I mean, that's.
Well, I've
negotiation is.
already talked to him on the phone, and he wasn't real receptive some of the stuff I was
But
talking
you've got to
about.
start working through formal agreements on
Yeah.
this stuff. It's
Yeah.
gotta go on paper.
And that's what I
It's
told
gotta
him.
go
I
back
said,
and
you
forth.
know,
That's what
we're
these
trying to
things
work
are,
out
right?
a formal
Just
agreement.
negotiation.
So let's go ahead and let's write up what we want. And
Yeah.
what do you need, what do you need?
Well, you previously said at a previous board meeting, you weren't worried about making any money on this. So if you wanted me to add that into the agreement, then it's what I need to know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a lot, the $300, $500 toward the fire, or the 4th of July. But for him just kind of walk away and so forth and take all the profit, yes, he has expenses. I understand that weed,
Well, Kurt, I remember this, and I've had this conversation for a while. I remember, if I remember right, and again, only 4 years old, I get it. There's been, this is definitely like it's inconsistent in terms of the output coming from those cuttings every year. Sometimes it's really thin, this guy still comes out and gets it done.
Right.
You know, and then other days, so kind of evens, to me, it kind of evens out. So I don't know, as long as we're getting it taken care of, and it's essentially a swap, I mean, do we really care? As long as that's actually being taken care of, that we're mitigating it for safety purposes, right? So we're getting the hay cut. And we're now gonna do the spraying, so that's part of our charge as well. And we don't have to pay anything to do it except for the spray.
Except for
But
the spray.
it's like, to me, that's a
that
no-brainer.
spray can be really expensive.
Well, okay, well, it sounds like we're gonna have to talk about that anyways.
Well, my suggestion is, why don't we get a contract, I guess, as you might call it, written up, and then all these points are open to negotiation with him, and I think it's gonna take a couple of you guys to sit around the table with him and just have the discussion and see where it goes and make it happen.
I'm afraid if we open this to bid, we're gonna end up paying for something we don't pay for today.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr.
Randy,
Wood.
could I just, point of clarification in
Yes,
terms
sir.
of past board requirements or agreements, whether they were verbal? Well, in past years, one of the procedures put in place was that McDonald would spray the hay fields, no charge, but the Metro District would pay for the herbicide. And that way, yeah, that way it was, that covered the cost of the herbicide, but he's got to invest his time.
I like that.
That was the deal then.
The district has never paid for it, at least since 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But let's
that's why I
put it in
wanted to put that out there
Put it in the
that,
agreement.
as here's a caution, because if the Metro District has to pay another contractor to spray the fields on its own, then that's gonna be a really major expenditure.
Right.
So just pay, if you say, look,
Just pay for
you
the
spray
cost.
them, we'll pay for the
I
herbicide.
think Randy's point is
You
we
can
just
provide
need
us the invoices for what you paid for those, we reimburse you for those.
Start having
And we'll
that.
take a buck a bale,
Yep.
off of that for.
Because he said he would spray, we just paid for
Well, get her written up,
Okay.
Get rid of
sit
it.
around the
We don't need
table
a
and
motion.
beat each other to death until you get it figured
You need a
out.
motion? Yeah, you're gonna go together and go talk.
Yeah, I'll reach
We'll
out
do the
to,
motion when we get the.
yeah, I'll reach out
Yeah.
to see where
I
we
was
get
gonna
that.
And we can only take 2 board members to that, right?
Anything further on item number 8, the hay cutting?
Well, it wouldn't be a meeting.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah, okay.
Number 9, review and consideration of a proposal for 2022 Independence Day firework display.
Finally, I got a hold of Claire
I love a break.
and talked to her about prices and all of that fun stuff, and we knew they were gonna go up at least 20%.
Yeah.
And they did, a little bit more, actually. I think last year we paid about 10,000,
It was 10,000.
and that included the insurance, that was part of that 10,000. This year's price is gonna be 9,881.30. We get a discount, so it goes down to 9,487, and then we have to buy insurance and delivery charges. Total cost would be $12,650. They give us 8% discount for early payment.
So, real quick, for reference, this is roughly about 10 grand every year.
This is what we've always paid.
The shoot's about 10 grand no matter what. That's kind of where. HVAC.
And that's what we have in our
So-
budget.
Yeah, so,
We'll also get a discount, we get a discount of 15% if we do a multiple year, which I recommend. We're gonna do this every year.
well, yeah, because we're into this, right?
Yeah, and it'll keep our costs flat for a while. So, we need a motion to accept this contract so we can sign off on it.
Sure. I move that the board approve the agreement with J&M Fireworks for the 2022 Independence Day celebration.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the issue?
We're up against it, right? Yeah, we're up against it, so we can't really.
We don't have time to play around with this one.
Well, how much, so,
We're talking, final show price is $12,650. That's on the contract.
no, I'm following. What I'm trying to figure out is what's
the free?
Are we agreeing when we're agreeing to this, are we just agreeing to this year's, or are we agreeing to the, multiple year agreement? Is this the multiple year agreement?
This will be the multiple year.
Yeah, see, and that's the one where I feel like,
You're feeling weird?
well, no, I'll say it like this, but we're up against it, so we can't go back, we can't actually go look around.
I'm like, good
No,
luck
the-
with
Our
that.
other vendors.
The way it's worked in the past, by agreeing to that multiple year contract, there is some language in there, at least there was when we agreed before, that at any time you want to bail from them as the supplier, you can do that.
It doesn't say anything here about
It doesn't say.
If you want to get that clarified with
Yeah.
Claire, because that was
Yeah, if
in
we
the
got,
other
if we
one.
got that, then I
Wait, what
think.
does it say?
Yeah.
We've got that, we've got our out.
They had no problem with, hey, if for whatever year you guys went broke, don't have the money, or don't want to use us, you can do that. So, that might be a point to get clarified with her.
Yeah.
Kurt, you and I can work with her. on
Yes,
this.
yeah, and what we'll do is we can reach out to the attorney, because I'm sure that they're gonna say the same thing I said before, is everything should have a non-appropriation clause. So if the bottom drops out, because we know the economy is so
We're
good,
not gonna.
Plus
We don't have to have
Yeah.
fireworks if we have no money.
then we can back out.
Plus, we have to come up, she would like us to come up with a rain date or specify when we think.
Rather than just leaving it open?
Oh, like
Well,
if it
because we've
rains
had
out?
Fire
It's a
danger.
really good
shut
point.
down. So do we wanna say our goal is to be, January 1st? You know, December 31st?
December 31st.
Do it on New Year's like we did?
That's what works best, I think.
I think it's the safest bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if we're having a bad year,
We're having
there's
a
really good
fire
chance.
year,
Yeah, it's a really
that's
good
not-
chance we're not gonna go. Steve, what's
Just
the
a
question?
quick comment, I can save this for next time's public comment, but I'm just curious, I see a lot where we get like you said, residence proposal, and then we jump to like a contract. I haven't seen a bid contract in years. I'm just curious why that is. It's very unusual to me to not see contracts bid. If that's off topic too much, that's great, but I'm just
No,
curious what your opinion is. Is it too expensive, too much hassle to bid? Like what's the board's thought on that?
All of the above. There is a dollar amount, isn't it, like 60 grand that we have to go to bid?
It's anything over 40,000, yeah.
40,000. So if there's a contract out there that would be in excess of 40 grand, we're required by state law to go to bid. Outside of that, no, we're not. And a lot of times, Steve, it's been historical agreements, and you check around. We do our homework and see if we're getting taken on a deal. We're not giving anybody a free lunch on these things. And if there's suspicion that we're not getting an equitable deal, we'll look into that and change it up, make it happen.
As far as the cost seems very reasonable, like I've done other firework displays and.
So this would come right under the 40, right? Because it'd be a 3 year. You're saying 3 year?
No, it's only agreeing to the 1 year.
1 year.
That's all.
Yeah, I think
board
that's the
can
key.
do.
It's only 1 year. And
But
some are having a multi-year, but we're not somehow committed to the multi-year. So we're gonna figure this out.
We can walk
So
away
I will
from
say
it.
this, we're not gonna commit to it if we're.
She's aware of that.
If we don't have it out.
It's more of an informal thing that they can kind of figure they can count on us every year, and that helps them in their long-term purchasing. So they can get stuff at better pricing. There's a lot involved in there. But yeah, no,
point are we ever obligated
Well,
to
and
provide?
I think that's it, that's the
Plus,
key.
they know the fire,
They know
the configuration we have here with the golf course.
Right.
Their golf course trusts them. It's one of those situations where, boy, it would be really tough to convince the golf course to let us put
Have
out
a
fireworks
vendor.
with somebody that doesn't know what they're doing here.
We can talk more about
Yep,
that offline,
that's a
but
good
the
survey.
answer to your question is, a lot of this is a relationship building,
Yep.
you know, over
A
time.
lot of
And
relationship
that's good and bad, right? Some of that could be, there's opportunity, on other sides where it's, you know, like this case where it is a specialized thing, getting it set up, the amount of work that has to coordinate with the country club, and then make sure that they're comfortable with how they're setting up.
Yeah, because they
what
can say
they're
no.
doing. There's quite a bit in that, to have a vendor who has that expertise and experiences and trust is important. So in this case, that relationship's a positive. Does that mean we should still not check and make sure we're paying the right rate? No.
I've never seen us check. I know you say you might, but I've never seen that motion. You did, or like?
Yeah, I did personally, and went out and checked fireworks. I checked, the little, drones.
That's where I just priced the drone.
No, we priced the drones
Yeah.
because we knew that we were coming up to a problem with maybe not being able to do fireworks. You want something expensive? Do those little drones.
Like that Chinese Olympics one that had all
Yeah,
the.
I don't know what, I mean,
I'm sure it's not new to
Well, when we did the tree removal for the forest, we had to go out and get bids.
Yes.
We put that out for bid, that was like a year and a half ago.
Right.
For the forest,
When we did the upper
yeah.
That was because it was over.
Cheyenne area.
You had to do that one, right?
That was bid.
Yeah.
Yeah, went out for bids on all that.
They had to, right? That's weird.
Very lucky.
So we've done bids, it's not gonna be bad.
So, any further
It's very
discussion on this?
expensive to go to bid. If you work.
Ready for a vote?
160 an hour.
All in favor?
Aye.
160 an hour.
Opposed?
Together a bid package.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on.
Okay.
New business, review and consideration, consider an agreement with Forestry Development to update the Perry Park Community Wildfire Protection Plan, CWPP, enclosed. Mr. Keith, do you have anything you'd like to say to the board with regard to this proposal?
Briefly, number one, we are at a point where we are required to update our Community Wildfire Protection Plan, or CWPP. They are technically only good for 10 years. We've been given quite a bit of grace because our plan was done in 2005. So by both the Colorado State Forest Service and Firewise USA on our Firewise USA recognition status, that we've been kind of what they would call a legacy community and gotten away with it. But unfortunately, the federal, all of the Biden bucks that may be coming down the pike, everything I've seen so far says your plan cannot be more than 10 years old. So to even qualify for any future grants, we're going to have to update it.
Okay.
And it's a public process, and in terms of the first thing that we did was revitalize the Firewise committee that's been in place over the years, but less active, and we have 5 residents who have stepped up and what they will become, in addition to being the Firewise Advisory Committee on an ongoing basis, even after the CWPP is done, they will be part of what's called the core team that will also include the Colorado State Forest Service, Larkspur Fire Protection District, and the Sheriff's Office, Office of Emergency Management. So, and those are required participants in that process. We will work towards the first public kind of process to probably a presentation kind of meeting on what we identified as additional risk. The Metro District is, and by the way, one of the other reasons we've really gotten away with not having to update the plan is we've been acting per plan for years,
right.
And they have seen that, and it's where money begets money, and we, at this point, Perry Park has received
Yeah, I was
about
gonna ask.
$1.5 million in grant money.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah,
share.
and that was
that's what I
because
wanted
we
to make sure we
did a
said.
CWPP years ago, one of the first in the state, one of the first handful in the state. And it will allow us to remain competitive, because boy, everybody wants that money now. And so it behooves us to get this done.
Yeah.
The committee is Deb LaFour, Darrell Barker, Larry Sutton, Steve Ray, and Reed Roberts. Those would be the citizen members of that committee. We'll probably hold our meetings at the firehouse in the large meeting room. People will be welcome to sit and observe, and then again, we'll go with hazard assessment in a public meeting. We'll then go to a draft, and then there'll be another required public meeting. And that, by the way, that public meeting could be just this board meeting, because this is a public meeting. But we may want to hold a special, meeting, say in the, probably at the fire station, would be the most convenient thing to set up. So, and then if we will take any public comments back, make any revisions, it will then go to the board for their approval. It will then go to the fire chief for his signature. It will then, the final sign off is the Colorado State Forest Service. They are the overseers of CWPPs in the state of Colorado. And this is the cheapest I've done. By the way, just to give you a range of cost, I completed the Larkspur CWPP last year. That was $14,500. So these generally run, if you go to bid, you're going to probably be in the $20,000 to $25,000 range. The added advantage for me is I know where everything is. I know what's been mitigated. I know what needs to be mitigated, and I know where all those little open spaces that I have been on every single one of them, and we've attempted to mitigate them at some point or another. And so I can do this. Plus, I'm giving a $20 an hour break on my hourly rate, which is only $95 an hour. So I'm getting 75 is what I'm offering this at. But I think I can get it done for that, and that will include my GIS subcontractor within that cost. So
you've got a date on here, December 1st. Is that?
That will be our target. Okay. Yeah. We're going to have to come to you if we're going to go beyond that. The idea is that we get it done in this calendar budget year. Okay. Yeah.
And then that sets us up for, that effectively is another 10-year certification.
10 years, yes. And we're good for 10 years.
About $800 a year, right?
Yeah.
That's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yep, good for 10 years.
For $1.5 million?
Yes.
I think we're good.
We put 12,000 in the budget.
Right?
You didn't hear
Don't
that.
tell Pete that. No.
We only have 8,000 in the budget.
It's not-
Sorry.
It's only 8,000 in the budget, not.
Can I take that proposal back? No, I actually am much more affordable than there are a number of companies, forestry companies that do these. To give you Castle Pines Village spent over 80,000 on theirs. Yeah. So these can be very, very pricey.
I'm gonna get it white hot, white hot.
Like Anchor Point.
Yeah, Anchor Point, oh my goodness.
When that project was bid for the town, Anchor Point, we had a top end range on the bid of like 25 grand, and they just sent us a nice little thank you for asking us, but we're not interested. Well, the projects they work on are in that $50,000 to $100,000 range. They won't do it for less.
I'm sorry to do this.
So would we like to, I'd like to move and make a motion that the board approve the agreement with the Forestry Development LLC and update the Craig Park Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Thank you, Keith.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
One final point of
No,
business.
no, you can't change it.
You cannot change it.
No. Now that you've approved that, there is a point of business that we need a board liaison to the committee. So we had
I'll
Ernie
let you guys figure that
Bergamo
out.
was our past board liaison with our Fire
Hey,
Waste Committee.
the election.
Joe? Okay. Our kickoff meeting is the 25th, and, well, I think you all,
25th?
did you send me on the agenda for the 25th meeting?
No.
To them as well?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
My suggestion would be if somebody wants to fill in the interim here when the new board is in place, throw that out again and see if anybody wants to play on that.
I'll take it for now, and then
Yeah.
when it's seated, we'll figure it out.
I'll be part of
The
it
agenda.
with my other hat on,
Communication, all
so
that.
I'm there anyway.
And then here's a copy of what I gave him, so you have that.
We're certainly in good hands.
Oh, this is
Hey,
that.
Kurt,
This is
if
that.
I remember right, our agreement with the country club was we were supposed to be done at 8. What should we do here?
Well, you still have several
Just
business
keep going,
items.
there's members here.
Okay.
Yeah, remember.
I know they close at 8, that's their problem.
Would you like me to go
Well,
ask somebody?
let's get through this here
No, let's
real
just,
quick.
Okay.
let's just
All
make
right.
this fast.
Now it's the noxious
I want everybody to focus. Let's see what else. Review and consider approval of noxious weed cost share grant fund request application.
So at your last meeting,
Yeah, that
the
lady.
young lady from Redwood
Yeah.
And always
So this
get
is
a
it.
500.
County Conservation
Let's
District.
do it.
So what I did is I put this grant application together, and it's for the 5-acre parcel at the front of the park, 4.779 acres.
On the pond side road.
That's what I wanted clarification for. I've got it on the other side.
Oh,
Which is the part
I
that
see, yeah.
Old McDonald question.
So if you want a different parcel, I
Sorry,
just
I
need
said
to identify that. It's a $500 cost share, so regardless of what it costs us, if we're granted the grant, you'll only get $500 back. So that's why it's there for your approval. It has to be submitted by April 20th.
Well, could we use that for the big though, to pay for the herbicide?
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, can we put both of them on that?
Well,
Get
you
the
can't put-
$500?
You can't put both of it on this, but the district will have to pay for that.
Yeah.
And so once we show them the area that was treated and the receipts for treatment, if
Then-
you're given the grant, we'll get $500 back
Okay.
for that
Right.
expense.
Okay.
So I think for the grant, that parcel's fine personally. I
I think
don't,
it's fine.
we need to do other parcels, the other side of the road and everything.
Right.
But we just don't need to wrap it into this grant thing because of time frame.
Okay, you want me to move? I move that the board approve the noxious weed cost share grant fund request application.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And then we have a review and consideration, or consider approval of proposal to update the district's boundary map in a legal description.
This is an unanticipated cost. The board, you vacated, or not vacated, you excluded that property that we talked about during the public comment section. So the district is required to submit a updated map to DOLA every year. If there's no changes in the boundaries, we just submit a no change letter.
Right.
The boundaries were changed. I've been holding off on this because of the other possible inclusion with the new residential area, but that's not moving anywhere. We can't hold off on this any longer, and we'll get in trouble with DOLA if we don't provide them an updated map. So I've reached out to 4 different engineering companies. Core is the one who has responded with a quote to do that. And it's $1,800 to redo the district map and the legal description of the boundaries.
Are they gonna survey?
They can do it mostly by Google Maps.
Made certified.
That's not a bad wage.
It's an AutoCAD kind of
It's not,
exercise.
it's not gonna, they're not gonna have it. Really appreciate it.
No, well, it's not necessary to do an in-field survey, they can just,
Just trying to see if we can get somebody out there with survey equipment to go.
yeah.
Be more
But I mean,
than
sure.
Look at those lines, so put some stakes.
If
in
you
the
take all the legal descriptions, they can use coordinate geometry, you probably have to
That was
so.
all.
So Sean, they just did a survey and they just marked out there, they just did it.
Oh, so they did.
New property owners just did it.
Okay.
The markers are out there right now.
Okay.
So if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm just
they're
curious.
there.
And they're filed in their application.
If that means that, like, they would have had to marked
Yeah.
the easement line as well, right?
Yes.
Right.
So,
Well, no, they don't.
They
They
didn't
don't
do
do
that.
that.
They didn't do that.
Only property line is
Yeah.
open.
so this is in addition to our
It would be-
normal
it would be
budget,
less
it's an
than-
add-on.
Yeah, this is an add-on, because we didn't know that we were gonna, how much it was gonna be or anything, so, but
Over
there's,
1,800?
yes, and there's
So
money
with-
in the budget.
So
to
with
pay for it.
Keith's proposal coming under budget,
Well, but
we should be okay.
there's 12,000 in that fire mitigation line.
Yeah.
Part of that is for him, the other part is for,
Yeah, but overall, our total budget will still be.
you'll still be under, you'll
Yeah.
still be under budget, yes.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
We talked to Keith's, subcontractor here.
At $1,800, I mean, like, I get surveys done for real estate,
18's not bad.
and 18's not bad. You can look at 1,500 for UD.
You wanna put a motion?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Ken seconded, wasn't it?
Okay, hold on.
Keep rolling, guys.
Not yet.
Move that the board approve the professional services agreement with Core Consulting to update the district boundary map.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, financial items. Do a quick run through on those.
So next is your financial statements. It's item number 13 in your board packet. Second page is just your schedule of cash positions. You can see that at the end of March 31st, cash value across all accounts was $789,889.37. If you approve the April check total, which will be your next order of business, cash value or cash position of the district will be $779,646.03. Next page is just your balance sheet, shows the different balances in the different accounts for the district, excuse me. You can see the first one is your checking account, the other three are the Color Trust accounts. We haven't spent any of the Conservation Trust money in a while, we're just banking that for right now. So that's something we can
We
use.
talked about making updates to.
Well, we talked about Wakanda, and that's why
Yeah.
we're banking that money right now
Right, so
until
we're
you all
gonna do
make a
some
decision.
updates.
So
Yeah.
do we wanna move money out of our checking account
Say
back
what?
into COLA? Or do you wanna leave it in there, or do you think?
I'd like to leave it in there for now, and
Okay.
as we get further, once we get the next tranche of money from the county for property taxes, then we can move money into Color Trust.
All right,
And that'll be June 1st time.
because that's the only place we make any
Yes, sir.
interest, and the interest rates did go up. Did, 15, they did go up.
About 30 basis points, maybe.
Yeah. It wasn't much.
Okay. If you go to the next page, it's just your monthly breakdown. If you remember, the first column is just your 1 month ending March 31st. The second column is your year-to-date. You can see that we've collected almost half of what we expect from property taxes so far.
No one's taking me up on my tree whispering.
I have a question about bank service charges.
Yes, sir.
I thought we got rid of those.
We did. That's money that's already been in there. Remember, we talked about it. Had to have people go to the bank to make sure everything was coming online, and so we haven't had a service charge since. And that's all related to the first bank. As far as expenditures, everything is, we're on track, we're on budget for everything. You're going to see some money's being spent now for the SFA grant for phase 2, since that work's going to start, and our first expenditure for phase 2 is going to be in tonight's checks, and that's towards Keith's portion of that.
Okay.
Okay,
Any questions?
no. I'd like to make a motion the board approve the district's April 2022 payables totaling $10,867.15, represented by checks number 6683 to 6695.
We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Committee reports, I think we've already had an update on the Firewise. How about entry?
Still kind of
Yeah,
pending?
still,
Yeah, but
still,
he's
still
been
need
in
to
Austin.
get a,
Still-
I need to get a leader on that group to help.
I would approach Jill, Arthur, and see if she seems willing to take a lead on
I
some of
actually
that.
had a member reach out to me, I just need to
Oh, okay.
respond and get that going, so.
Cool.
That's good. And yeah, and it's not like the board liaison has to necessarily be there at every meeting, you know, they can have meetings and.
I'm gonna count on that.
Yeah. But the only thing we need to pay attention to on any committees is that if they wish a communication out to the public or another agency, that needs to run through the board. Or if they're making a kind of a major decision that would impact finances of the board, then they need to get the board involved with those points. But other than that, you know, having meetings, discussions, setting up the framework for things, you're free to do that without any supervision. Park and open space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that? I think as far as, you know, we did determine that Music in the Park was gonna go back to Larkspur, Community Park. So that was something that we had talked about, maybe having in Wakanda Park. But I think as far as, there's certainly, still questions out there if we wanted to have like pickleball or something down in there, some other kind of thing, or use it as more of an event area. I mean, as far as it actually has some usable space. I mean, it's not gonna be thousands of people, but it would certainly be able to be used. I mean, there's little kids playground stuff there and all that, and more people are using that than before. So I would say if people have ideas on that, let me know. I mean, as far as that was our first theory, was to have some music down there, and it may be a possibility, maybe.
I don't know, why not?
Maybe.
I mean, are
We
still
have
looking-
money set aside for that.
I'm still looking for, you know, recommendation from the committee, right?
Yeah. So, if you guys have any ideas on that, let me know.
I think some fun things could happen down there.
Some fun things.
And that's important. Okay, we're through the community thing, unless you got anything else to add on the Firewise there, Mr. Woodley?
No.
Okay.
Well, I guess I should, we're still waiting for the contractor to finish up with Haystack Ranch. We actually tried to get them started this winter, but the cost would have been on the Metro District to plow the road to get them in there. That could have been in excess of 10 grand to keep that road open.
No,
So we were able, they had operable terrain in Haystack. We sent them there. They should be back probably within the next 60 to 90 days to finish, or to start on phase 2. And we'll work on that probably through into the fall.
Cool.
Phase 2. The Indian Head phase of the, and it's not tussock moth cleanup, it's actually forest restoration, timber stand, I would call it ecosystem and forest restoration project. Instead of cleaning up
There's
dust
a lot
and
more
trees.
forest to restore by the amount of red beetle that I'm starting to see pop up around there. Our forest is not healthy, folks. Which will probably come into a Firewise discussion at some point to bring to the community. Okay, on to other business, director's items. Sirs.
I only have one thing that, I don't know if any of you use Apple Maps, but it's starting to show Pinehurst as an exit out of Perry Park. Pinehurst is a little dirt trail that goes over to Ramada, or Remuda, Ranch Road or whatever it is. It's one of the connectors, and we don't have a gate on it, like we have on the one that goes out to Dakin.
It's not a sanctioned.
People can find their
address.
ways.
It's not
There,
sanctioned.
you can see the trail. It looks like people have been using it.
Well, there's an
along the
old
side.
two-track that goes down to
Yeah,
a
that's what I'm
ranch.
saying. But they show that as a road, and their Apple Maps is actually showing it as
Oh my
a
God.
road to get out.
Actually, I've seen more traffic, you can see more traffic down that road, that there was nothing there before, so somebody's going down there.
Yeah, somebody's using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people are.
Well,
I just
I love
wanna
it.
bring it up as something we should keep an eye on.
Yeah.
it might be good if someone knows somebody that
could make contact with Apple.
I would think you'd wanna get a hold of the county and say, what the heck is going on here? Why is this showing up as a true road?
Well, I know there's a driveway down, by Valley Park that goes back to a residence, and they show it, Google Maps shows it as a route into Valley Park, and this poor guy has all kinds of service trucks, delivery trucks, people that are looking for a way in, come down his driveway, and they stop and they go, I can't get through.
Right.
And he
Imagine
called me once about that down at the fire station, and I said, well, you really need to talk to Google. I said, not a lot anybody can do about it unless you have the one-on-one conversation with Google and say, you have a problem, you have a map error, and fix it.
Which property, does it go into the Turner Ranch or the Bermuda?
It's a road called Pinehurst that comes off of Country Club.
Right.
And it attaches to Bermuda Ranch Road.
Well, it's on,
The
somebody
only
just
reason
contacted
I
Tom
found
Williams
that-
and say, put
The
a
reason
fence
I
in.
found is my wife was gonna go up to Blackhawk. And the map told her she should go that way. And I said, no.
Good luck with that.
I said, no.
Okay. Point well taken.
Not
Anything
fixing your
else
car if you do.
from the directors?
No.
I've got one real quick thing. And, oh, God, I know. I just want to bring up again about neighborhood watch things. We had a community member that tried to get something going up over on Wakanda and Country Club area, and it just didn't happen. The interest wasn't there. I think we're in interesting times right now, and I think those times may get more interesting, and I think we may have a bigger problem with potential criminal activity in the future that we'll see down here, even though we've been in a very isolated bubble for a very long time. I think it would be prudent to have neighborhood watch in our community. Now, whether it's something you want to go through the sheriff's department so you get the little sign or whatever, or you informally put something like that together. And what I would suggest is that at some point, maybe set up a meeting time where interested parties could come and we could have that discussion. So I'm going to just leave it at that. It's nothing that this board necessarily has to get involved with, but I take it as an issue that our security of our community.
Sure.
All right, anything else?
Just one other thing, we talked about it briefly, is so since the election is May 3rd, the new directors will be elected on the 3rd of May. Your next meeting is May 11th. You will still be the board of directors on May 11th. Part of that business meeting is swearing into the new board members. The new board members can have discussion, but they cannot vote on any item at that meeting because those oaths of office have to be recorded with the court and then be sent to the county clerk. At that time, then those new board members actually take office. So you will still be sitting as the board of directors for the May 11th meeting.
The 12th, isn't it?
Or the 12th, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So this isn't our last one?
Nope, not yet.
One more.
Oh, Craig.
One more.
Oh,
And just the other one is just a reminder that the July meeting is gonna push to the 4th.
Wait,
To the what?
To the 21st, because
Oh.
this,
I thought you said the fourth, I was like, what?
from the 14th to the 21st in July. Because this room's not available on the 14th.
That's right.
Okay. Just a reminder.
Well, thank you, sir.
Sure.
All right, next regular meeting, May 17th, 2022 at 6:30 PM, right here. And I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the audience tonight, and if you guys can get us that info, we can go forward. All right.